without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Stephen Weintraub, who will be moderating our panel today. Stephen, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, sir. My name is Steve Weintraub. I'm founder and editor-in-chief of the website Collider. And enough about me. Let's have some panelists come out on stage. Oh, if everyone could just introduce yourselves.
I'll kick us off. Hey, everybody. Great to see your faces. I am Taylor Keisha Omachanu, and I lead film at Kickstarter.
Hey, everyone. My name is Max Reisinger, and I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Creator Camp.
Hello, my name is Rashad Fred. I'm the co-writer and director of feature film Ricky that premiered here last year.
I am Felipe Sierra. I'm the director of Everybody to Kenmure Street, which premiered last night in Sundance. It's a Scottish documentary.
I just want to start with thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you everyone at Kickstarter. Let's get started. When you hear the phrase giving yourself the green light, what does that actually look like in practice right now? Not aspirationally, but realistically. And what's usually the first decisive move a filmmaker has to make?
So for us at Kickstarter, and looking at all of the films that we have here at Sundance this year, from Felipe's film, Everybody at Kenmure Street, to the short films Radiant Frost, Callback, and also the feature Take Me Home. For us, what the through line for all of those filmmakers is that they did not wait for a green light. Felipe's, if you watch his project video for this film that's here this year, he's walking in the street saying, we are making this film. We want to invite you all to be on that journey. And that's the first decision point that we see, is folks saying, I'm making the film. And then the next part of that is inviting your community to be a part of it.
I could say on the back of that, since we're talking about Kenmure Street, I think, as all things, it's a learning journey. My first Kickstarter project was in 2010. It was a short film, and I don't have family in the industry. I come from, my father was a refugee, so there's no resources. So it was really, I had this amazing story. I knew I could make a great film out of it, and Kickstarter obviously was kind of coming out. It was really exciting, and I think we were the first. It was kind of the selling point. We were the first Scottish project on Kickstarter. And it's based on a true story. I used to be a rickshaw driver. I lived in Edinburgh at the time, which is very hilly. And one of the best thing and worst thing that happened was I got mugged when I was trying to save money that night. And it was a busker. You guys have a term busker in the US? Who basically, as I was going up the street to the Edinburgh Castle with 3 fairly heavyweight passengers from Manchester, he started singing this theme song from Rocky. And pushed, and got a crowd who pushed the rickshaw all the way up to the top of the castle. So the idea at the time was like, give me money to make my film. It was help me get the Rocky theme into our short film. And so I think kind of turning that narrative around was really helpful.
All right, I'm gonna try to top that. So for me, just growing up, I just never listened, and, back then I didn't understand it, but as an adult, it was my superpower, waiting for somebody to tell me what to do. It was inspired by Spike, when he did fundraising for one of his feature films. How many of you guys remember when he did fundraising? I think it was like 10, 15 years ago. And, that was, one of the bases, for us doing the same thing. And, even like putting the film together, I had people telling me, maybe you should make this type of film because, this film really doesn't sell. And, to me, it's about the story, and I wasn't waiting for, or going to get the green light from somebody else. I'm kind of rebellious like that. So because of that, here I am,
Yeah, I think my background started on the internet. So when I was a kid, I made videos on YouTube. And so I didn't grow up looking towards the film industry, but as I got further on YouTube, I started to meet really talented creators who had dreams and aspirations to make things for the big screen. And I think when we first got together, we just actually produced and distributed our first feature film called Two Sleepy People. And when we first came together, we were like, okay, we're not going to make it into film festivals. Like, there's no way we're going to get the funding for this. So, like, what do we do? And, like, what do we have available to us? And I think that whole process has been us not looking for any greenlighting, but looking towards what we actually have in our audience and our people. So when it comes to putting together money to actually fund the film with brands and stuff, and then also when it comes to distributing the film, we went directly to our audience. And so every step of the way was looking towards the people to help us greenlight and working with them.
Right now, this is for all of you guys. Right now, where do you see the bottleneck for filmmakers? Getting funded, getting finished, or getting seen? And how has that shifted over the last few years?
Everything's a bit of a challenge for a lot of the filmmakers that we speak with now, but the solution and our CEO, Everett Taylor, is very passionate about film at Kickstarter, and so he wanted to, and we wanted to help solve the distribution challenge that a lot of folks are having. And so that led to us having a partnership now with Tubi, where we've helped tons of filmmakers get distribution on that platform, also revenue from that deal, and additional funding for their film. So distribution is a huge issue, as we all know right now.
Yeah, I second that. Definitely distribution. A lot of my peers, had difficulties getting their films, out there, and it was just an honor, for the producers and Kickstarter to start this campaign, to try a different avenue, and ironically, I've gotten hitting up a lot in regards to people that, inquired about going the same route. It's always an evolution in just everything, even in cinema and even in distribution. So it seems like, this may be like, more of a wide stream path moving forward.
It's definitely something that kind of takes over your life. I think the term filmmaker becomes almost more appropriate than maybe film director, because you have to take on so many jobs. My first feature film, Ne Pastellan, which is a story of solidarity that I heard when I was a kid, we used Kickstarter twice over a period of 4 years, and that raised almost a third of the budget. And it became the most successful Scottish documentary of all time in the UK. It won a BAFTA. There's a monument to the memory of the guys in the film. It became a big thing, but I'm still sending DVDs every week to people buying it because I'm distributing myself. So all these elements kind of come together.
Yeah, having just gone through the process of producing and distributing our film fully by ourselves, it feels almost like a video game where there's like different levels. And like every time you pass a level, like first getting funding's hard, and then it's like, then you have to get it distributed. And each time you're running into a new challenge. And I think it's about how far can you get and ultimately going as far as you can. And that's what it feels like today. And like we've been open sourcing the whole process on Instagram, sharing everything that we've been learning, and we get all sorts of messages from people like, I just need other people to make the movie from me. I'm like a kid in Kansas, and no one here is excited about films, wants to make films, and I just need community. And I think like that's what's so exciting about growing up on the internet now and having accessibility to like all these different tools, whether it's funding projects, whether it's distributing your projects. I feel like now more than ever, I wouldn't say it's easier, but there's more accessible tools to the average person, which I think is really exciting.
Taylor, this is actually for you. From Kickstarter's vantage point, at what point in the process are you seeing filmmakers come to Kickstarter? And for what reasons, and how has it changed through the years?
Yeah, so people come to Kickstarter at every phase of the filmmaking process, from pre-production to post, and now what we're seeing is marketing and distribution, folks running campaigns to gain greater visibility to their films and hopefully signal to distributors that there is an audience for the film. So a more recent example is The Apprentice. They did a whole campaign on Kickstarter to support them with getting distribution. And that campaign did really well. It was called Release The Apprentice, and actually now you can watch the film on Tubi. So yeah, there we have it.
Actually, I have a follow-up for you. Crowdfunding gets talked about a lot, but it's still misunderstood. For filmmakers in the room who may be hearing it framed as like a last resort or a niche tool, how do you define crowdfunding today?
I love this question. I love answering it one-on-one. If anybody else wants to ask me again in the like mingling hours, please do, because the future really is in artists having a direct relationship with their audience, with the people who want to support you, you owning their emails. What I always say to folks is, look, it's great to work the traditional system. If folks want to give you millions of dollars and it feels aligned, take it. And also, crowdfunding is a tool that you should add and have in your toolkit, because just like Felipe said, 1/3 of the budget came from crowdfunding, and then there's also the audience element that's then there. And so if you could consider, I have a slate every year of projects that I'm trying to make. I can allocate that, okay, 20 to 40% of that I'm gonna raise on Kickstarter, or when it comes to us marketing the film, I'm gonna leverage Kickstarter. We have Fandango as part of Ricky's campaign, supporting with the ticketing when the film goes out to theaters. So it's also worth noting that when Sundance, like when Kickstarter started 17 years ago, many of the films were Kickstarter backed. So we are not new to this. We are very true to this in that we have tons of films at Sundance, South by Southwest. We have Oscar nominations, wins. So we are here really with you all to help you make it happen, and we're an added tool to the toolkit for sure.
Rashad, this is for you. You currently have your first ever Kickstarter campaign live for Ricky. What made this the right moment to do this? And what were you hoping that crowdfunding would give you that like traditional routes wouldn't?
To go back to what we were talking about earlier, just getting that green light. We were approached by a lot of distributors. Like, I met with so many distributors that it became a blur. I met with them 2-3 times, but it just didn't work out.
Can you actually share like what was the main reason it didn't work out?
This is being recorded?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. Y'all trying to get me in trouble. Let the film come out first, and I'll talk about it. I'll play.
I got it.
No, but seriously, it's we just felt that we needed to, first of all, keep ownership of the project. So we definitely have ownership of Ricky, even though it's being distributed. Shout out to Blue Harbor. And it's just like, another way to get the film out there. And this is my first, like, I'm Caribbean. We were taught, don't beg nobody for nothing. That means don't ask anybody for anything. So I grew up with that mentality. But in my more mature years, I'm like, a lot of my friends, I saw the successes of what they did by asking. Closed mouths don't get fed. That's the other side of the sword. So I was like, let me try that. And, the producers, the way they presented it to me with Kickstarter, I'm like, it's a no-brainer. So that was, here we are.
Well, a follow-up is, since launching, what have you learned about your audience? And actually, I'll say that. What have you learned about your audience or about your own relationship to asking for support?
Yeah, so what I learned about my audience is they had a lot of questions that, I didn't know that I knew that I could answer. A lot of them inquired about also going this route. A lot of people, peers and fellow filmmakers and just, supporters, they're rooting for, they see it kind of like, the underdog type, going against the system, and, I'm all for it, so it's just more so that like a lot of people are willing to or down to go that route.
Felipe, this is for you. Your film, Everybody to Ken Muir Street. If you're from Boston, Ken Moore Street, but I'm making a joke here that no one got. Everybody to Ken Moore Street was funded on Kickstarter, is now premiering at Sundance. Why did you decide to crowdfund the film, and where actually were you in the filmmaking process when you realized, like, we're going to do crowdfunding?
We were about maybe a third of the way through, and we realized obviously it's a difficult film to fund. It's about a community in Glasgow that stopped a deportation happening and peacefully, which there's a lot of things that we're saying about the government. There's a lot of things that we're saying about the police. We're not really saying, we're just showing you. And so these kind of things, trying to get funders on board, there's an element of controversy to it. Although our national funders, Queen's Scotland, backed us from the beginning, which was beautiful. But then we needed to kind of an extra length, and we also, I think, and that came from my experience of working with Kickstarter before. I knew you just get other things from it, and I'd say 80% of the film is smartphone footage of people who were at the protest and filming, and I knew that in media just loves a good story, and Kickstarter kind of helps kind of focus this. So as soon as we launched the project, we had most kind of Scottish media saying this film is trying to Kickstarter it, and we ended up getting a lot more footage and stuff that we just didn't expect we'd find. So it does. You do need to take a back step, because crowdfunding is incredibly intensive, so time-consuming. For a whole month, there's no filmmaking really going on. You're just on social media. You're reaching out constantly. But it's, even though it happened in Glasgow, it allowed for people in Glasgow to know that we were making this film, which is really as what powers us all the way over here. And the film is premiering in Glasgow next month, and everybody's just chomping at the bit to see it.
Looking back, what did crowdfunding actually unlock for you besides the money? And what surprised you most about the process?
I think sometimes it doesn't matter how loud you are, right? If you don't have the right platform, people won't hear you. And I think also Kickstarter kind of brings that platform, it brings certain clarity, brings a focus. People know this is where I'm going to find information about this film. So not only we got the money, we raised £45,000. But I think for the film, literally the footage in the film came some, not all of it. We did a lot of work before that, but a big chunk of it came from that campaign.
Max, I'm going to be reading this question for you. It's a little long. Creator Camp and Kickstarter announced a partnership this week, with Kickstarter supporting the wide release of Two Sleepy People, a film that was developed and distributed outside of the traditional studio system and backed by community momentum. First, can you tell us a little bit about Creator Camp and why you created this company?
Yes, thank you. Creator Camp was born out of, honestly, an Instagram DM. This was 4 years ago. I was making videos on YouTube, and this guy named Simon Kim, who's also making films, sent me a message. We ended up meeting up and hanging out in the woods of Montana for a month, just talking about internet filmmaking. And that ultimately grew to be a community of other creators who wanted to create and make things for the big screen and not just make things for the phone. They wanted to make films, they wanted to tell stories and not just make maybe 60-second reels or short YouTube videos. But Two Sleepy People is our first studio project where we were able to finance it and also distribute it to over 100 theaters so far and counting this weekend. And the partnership with Kickstarter is really exciting because we got to over 60 theaters so far without any marketing support or any distribution. We did that directly through going to our audience. But when we wanted to take,
that's really awesome.
Thank you. And we wanted to leverage all that momentum and go back to people and get more support. So we went back to folks and Kickstarter mainly, and then people in our community, and we're able to raise almost $100,000 for a P&A to help us with our wide release, which is happening literally this weekend. Tonight is the opening weekend, so very excited to be here to kick that off.
I got a follow-up. From your perspective, what did this release demonstrate about what's possible when creators retain ownership and audiences play a more active role in helping films reach the world?
Yeah, I think that was like audiences being involved in the process of the film is core. Like we would not have been able to make the film or do anything with it. Early on, we were like, we don't have that much money. We want to go to theaters, but if you go to theaters and you say like, we don't have money, we don't know who our audience is, we don't know where they are, it's going to be really difficult. And so we did this campaign where we made a map online in a website, and you could put your name, email, and your zip code, and we'd put you on a map, and then your name would be in the credits. We had over 20,000 people put their name to be in the credits, and then we're able to leverage that data and go back to theaters and say like, hey, we know exactly where our audiences is, and we can reach them directly. And then going back to the ownership component, like we own the film in its entirety, and so we can sort of control what we want to do with it. Whether it's going international now or going to theaters wherever we want in the world, we can go directly to the people who've been literally watching us make the film and distribute it for the past few months on Instagram.
Actually, one last thing. How do you envision crowdfunding in Creator Camp's future?
Now that we've gone through making the film and distributing it, we've been getting like thousands of messages from people who are like, I want to do this. Like, how are you guys doing this? Can I learn more? And I think for us, like, we want to use this as a case study and a blueprint to really encourage and educate and like open source as much as we can. I think especially in a time now where it feels like everything is changing and it's like, there's a lot of unknown. I think the more we can ground it in like, here's what you can do today with what tools you have accessible to you. I think this partnership is really important for the next generation of filmmakers who want to tell stories and who might not be going through traditional pathways. I think this is hopefully what that partnership embodies.
Taylor, this is for you. Looking at the strongest film campaigns you've seen on Kickstarter, what do they tend to get right before they go live?
Audience engagement early. So letting people know, like, hey, you have the opportunity to be a part of this film, what we're building, our movement, or just the story itself. You know, I don't know how many of y'all know, but Issa Rae, Chloe Zhao, Nia DaCosta, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, all Kickstarter-backed folks. And so audience engagement is so key because for me, I've been following Issa since I was 15. And that's because she was able to run a Kickstarter campaign, then start a YouTube series with that money, and then it goes on and on and on. So audience engagement from the beginning and just letting people know the opportunity is there for them to be on the journey with you.
This is a question actually for everybody. What do you actually wish more people knew about Kickstarter and using crowdfunding?
Do y'all know it's equity-free capital? I just think that people should use equity-free capital and build your audience at the same time, but I'm biased, clearly, so I'll let these filmmakers.
I would say it's equity free. Oh, you said that already, my bad.
Have you heard it's equity free?
No, seriously, with Kickstarter, you're gonna find your audience out there. You know, it's just about trying to, reaching out to the audience, but they're definitely out there, and Kickstarter definitely helps, so.
I think like having just gone through it like in a more untraditional way, I feel like most people associate Kickstarter with like kickstarting the project. So to have like the project be finished and to use it in a more maybe untraditional way where it's at the end of its stage and really giving it its legs, I think a lot of filmmakers that we speak to just think about it through the lens of like, I just need to fund my film, where some folks now are like, I just want to get my first camera, and like my Kickstarter might only be $500 or $1,000, and like I think there's a lot of different creative ways to use Kickstarter that aren't just, hey, I'm going to fund my massive project.
Like one thing I've appreciated, it just takes so long to make a documentary. My first one took 6 years, this one took 4.5 years. And I think it's something important to kind of create milestones. And we all need money to make these films. And sometimes, you got Mungo Smiley from Cork in Scotland, who's, an older wee philanthropist who maybe only have 25 pounds. They make a great cup of tea. They're never going to make a film, but, their name is in the film. And, it's been such a long period of time. I often meet people go, my name's in your film. And it's something, kind of the sense of creating a community around long projects, which you need to do because it's just such a big part of your life. It needs to be meaningful all along the way.
I am so curious, like about how social media has changed in terms of crowdfunding at Kickstarter and with you guys. Like, how has like TikTok, Instagram, and getting your voice out and giving updates constantly sort of helped everyone, and how has it changed Kickstarter having all those social platforms?
I'm like name drop queen tonight, but we have a filmmaker who really leveraged social media and just letting people know. His film is called Jimmy. It's about, James Baldwin, very lyrical, beautiful film. Anyway, he hit the pavement on social media, just like making sure that people knew about it. That's not the only thing you should do. You should definitely directly connect with the folks that you know, having their emails. And when you leverage socials and just let people know, ask them to share, you do things like he did where you end up having Barry Jenkins as a mentor because they got to him. So if you are doing a lot of, I would love to hear, Mac's answer, because when you are just sharing with folks, if the story resonates, then they can join in and become a part of your audience.
Yeah, I think we got every opportunity by sharing what we were doing. I think we've done like 30 million views, purely organic, over the last 6 months talking about our film, and we'd have nowhere close enough to that amount of money to like be able to spread that.
Can I actually interrupt you? I'm so curious. When you're getting ready, for people that are thinking about this and they're getting ready, because you've clearly figured out engagement with your, I'm assuming this is Insta or this is TikTok?
Mainly Instagram, yeah.
That's right. So how are you creating, for people that haven't seen it, are you creating certain like looks on Instagram, whether it be like fast cuts or like long talking to the camera? Like how are you specifically artistically creating the content on Instagram that you find is most engaging with the audience and which leads to the investment and people really wanting to get involved?
Yeah, I'd say like it's a mix of things. Like we're constantly going back and watching our last video and saying, no, like this isn't good enough. We're going to change the style over and over and over. But I think the core thing that we tried to get right is not just thinking about it as one video that's going to go viral and we're going to optimize this to get to as many people as possible. I think we thought it through the lens of like, okay, we're going on this journey and we want to invite the audience into the journey. They might not see every video, but how do we think through it as like a series? And I think that's what made it really stand out to folks, and it really made the audience like they're in a part of the journey with us. And so I think it's less maybe about like the edit or the cut or the visual or the effect or the sound or the audio, but what is the relationship to the audience that you're building, and can you give them a reason to come back? And I think that is really what our team knocked out of the park.
Their videos are amazing. If you like follow Creator Camp and just check out what they're doing, but you'll be bought in and you'll also, so just follow.
Did you guys want to add anything?
Did you know it's equity free?
I do now, after today. Oh, I can move on to another question. Okay, this is for you three, actually. What advice would you give a filmmaker who feels creatively ready, but is still waiting for external permission from a financer, a distributor, or the industry at large?
All right, so I'm gonna say, if you're waiting, you're gonna be waiting forever. Don't wait, Come on, let's get some more class, Seriously, I just never, I mean, I have endless stories. I'm not gonna get into it, but I thrive on when people tell me no. When people tell me no, I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm just real calculated, so I'll just quiet. Next thing you know, something else coming out. So, just never wait. Just always go. Time don't wait on us. Why are we gonna wait?
I think nothing more to add. I think that summarizes it well.
I feel what it does, having to add, is this sense of responsibility to your audience. You're asking for money. You're asking them to literally be part of making a film. So I think there's needs. I mean, obviously, for any kind of project, you need a great confidence in what you're making has a point, has a relevance, that there's a voice, that there's something that's going to matter to people's life, that they, the time they're going to give you to watch your video, typing the credit card number, all this, and the sort of trust that you're building is like, trust me now, but in 2 years from now, I'll have something that you're actually going to enjoy, you might want to share. So I think it does have a sense of responsibility for filmmakers too.
This is a question, I guess, for everyone here. How much have you found that it is the same person donating multiple times to your project, and how much is it one person, and the importance of finding like a ton of $5 donations? You know what I mean? Like individual, I'm just curious about that.
We have tens of millions of repeat backers on Kickstarter, and that includes, for our filmmakers, people like Felipe who've run 5 campaigns, and people come back and support them again and again. And then also people who just love to support film on our platform, and they just browse and see what films are there, and they back as well. So yeah, there's tons of people out there that do want to be supportive to filmmakers, and you as an individual, that relationship, when you make your first film, you run the Kickstarter campaign for it, you then say to them, okay, you complete it, you share it with them, they're able to watch it, and then the next one you run it. So people do come back and support.
How has it been for your guys' campaigns?
I mean, exactly that. I've got people that I've never met, but have backed every single campaign since 2010. It's quite lovely, and you know, I love to buy them a drink at some point, but there's a weird alchemy to it. It's quite interesting.
I think I've seen a mix across the board where I feel like, maybe to your last question, like I think the ideal world is someone comes in and they finances everything and it's great, but I think, you know, I wouldn't underestimate the small little contributions as well that actually like build up. And I think, I know some friends who've, you know, raised a lot of money off of a lot of just $5 donations, and I think that's like been so cool to watch and see.
Yeah, you know, we've had donations from everywhere, and you know, people just, you know, from as little as 5 to thousands, you know, and pretty much, you know, from there they'll like contact me or somebody from the team and just show their appreciation, and you know, may say how the film resonates with them or how the trailer resonates with them, and you know, we just get you know, like when you really, to like what you're saying, like connect with the audience, or if they resonate with your work, you know, it just, and they invest in your project more. So that's how it's been working out.
I'm curious, have you found more people, like what is the figuring out on like getting the $1, the $5, and like the expensive donation? You know what I mean? Like how do you sort of figure that out, and you know, what goes on behind the scenes in that discussion process?
That's a great question. What I say to every filmmaker is, when you're thinking about outreach for the raise, the crowdfunding, what buckets can you put people in? So who's in the $5 bucket? Who's in the $25 dollar bucket? Who's in the $500 bucket? Who's in the $10,000 bucket? And pitch and address accordingly. So if you say, hey, special thanks in the credits for $500, then say, I would love to invite you to have your name, you know, in the credits on the film, and that's $500. So that's the approach that I like to see folks take, is be very specific with your ask. And most people can support at a movie ticket level, which in New York is like $25. So, and well, is that everywhere? But yeah, $25. And so asking many people for $25 to support. And again, I think it's just really important to note that this is an exchange. So people get something for being a part of your film. Most people want to see their name in lights. So like the credits is always a win and a really great perk to give folks, but people want to support you, and so even just saying like, hey, will you buy a movie ticket, it goes a long way.
Yeah, you know, I give you an anecdote. So, you know, during this Kickstarter, like some people actually hit me up and was like, they didn't say it directly, but they were pretty much saying like, you know, because they donated, that they're execs now, so they started asking me like all these like weekly reports and shit. So I guess I'm obligated to do it, which I will.
Oh, do you want to add anything else?
No, I mean, I think what you said there summarizes it pretty well.
Taylor, this is for you. I'm going to read this one. Last year, and you already sort of touched on this, Kickstarter launched a partnership with Tubi, focusing on helping filmmakers navigate funding and distribution challenges. Tell us about the partnership, and tell us why it was important for Kickstarter to address the distribution challenge filmmakers are facing today, and how this fits into your vision on how Kickstarter supports filmmakers just in general.
Yeah, so the partnership with Tubi is called the Film Stream Collective, and we help 10 filmmakers get exclusive distro and grant funding on Tubi. 11 other filmmakers also got their films distributed for the first time via this partnership. And if you all go and look up Film Stream Collective, there's like over 80 films that are Kickstarter backed that do that live on Tubi holistically. And so our vision is to be now a funding and distribution channel for filmmakers. So that means that we are an end-to-end solution, helping you throughout the full, pipeline. Because you make the film, then the question is, where is it going to go? And so our vision is to help solve that, and hopefully partnerships like that, we can just continue to expand on this vision.
It's a question for all you guys. So in this era of doom scrolling, which I'm a victim of, and I'm sure all of you are victims of, I love movies. I just love them so much. How do we get more people watching movies?
All right, so I'm gonna call you and say, hey, let's gather a bunch of our friends and have a movie night on Friday. Are you gonna tell me no?
I will not be.
All right, there you go. So that's the way, could just like gather up your friends and just be like, let's have a movie night. We had a long week. We have rough lights here, like a lot of, we had some rough lights and stuff, but we're here. I'm not speaking about myself, but
You should. I won't ask.
but but pretty much you gather your friends and just say, hey, let's check out. See, I'm an '80s baby, so let's check out The Shining. For example, like let's check out something and let's talk about it afterwards, or I don't know, Waiting to Exhale or something like that, and talk about it over some sangria or something, But that's definitely a way to do it.
Yeah, I think now that we're literally in the thick of having to market a movie, it's like one of the most challenging things to market because there's so much friction. First, like you have to hope that the movie theater is near the people. They have to drive there. They have to spend money on gas, and they have to pay for the movie ticket. So I think it's one of the most challenging things if you think about it through all the friction. But I think on the flip side, like since COVID, we've seen a lot of experiential and event markets rebound, like concerts, but the theatrical stuff hasn't as much. And I think because a lot of the media isn't marketed as an experience in an event, it feels like, oh, like you could watch it in a theater, you could just watch it at home. Of course, I'll watch it at home. And I think something that we've really tried to lean into with our content is like, here's why you should watch it in a theater and the collective experience and why that's unique and different. And for me, like watching films and hearing people laugh at different moments that I don't, think are super funny, like that makes me think about it in a different way. And I think it's important to have shared collective experiences, but I think you have to market the experience just as much as you're marketing the film itself. And I think that's really challenging to do, but important.
And also, to add to that, movie theaters nowadays, the seats recline and you get heats and all that stuff. And I think they got like the 3D movie, water splash on your face and stuff like that.
Oh, I think it's 4DX?
Yeah, so you got all that.
If there's anything else you guys want to add.
I'd say, my last two films were about protest, and protest is a collective experience, and there's a lot of emotion running through it. I realize, obviously, going to the cinema, it's a collective experience, and you're feeling all these experiences together. Crowdfunding relies on this, kind of creating this collective experience. You have to create this kind of contagious element to the project, and a lot of it is kind of what is the right narrative you want to present to kind of lure people in and understand, and creating a space for them to feel, maybe I cannot make the film for you, but I can contribute in a small way. So there's a collecting element to it that I think is something to think about before you start a project too.
Yeah, and I'll just add to all of their points, community. Community, we all are still so desperate for it. Everybody in this room I know loves the theater experience and being a part of film and movie making, and we do have control of how we show up for our friends, with our friends, to go and see movies, and how we invite our community to be a part of, if you're a filmmaker, your original idea or concept. Like, we're still all starving for more original content, more original films.
And with that, I just want to say to all of you guys who came out today for the panel, thank you so much, and please a round of applause for our panelists.